Hello everyone, welcome to the program. This is Sunday Politics, live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Wakimale, live for you here in our Abuja studio. Let's begin by letting you know that Vice President Kashim Shettima is in Freetown, Sierra Leone to represent President Bola Tinubu at the 69th Ordinary Session of the Authority of Heads of State and Government of the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS. Shettima arrived at the Freetown International Airport in Lungi, where he was received by Sierra Leone's Vice President Mohamed Jude Jallo, alongside Nigeria's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Bianca Odumegu Ojukwu. The VP is expected to join heads of state and government, ministers, senior officials, regional institutions, and business leaders at a summit taking place at the Julius Maada Bio International Conference Center in Freetown. The summit is expected to consider major policy decisions and strategic resolutions aimed at strengthening peace and security, democratic governance, regional trade, economic integration, infrastructure development, and sustainable growth across West Africa. Tonight, our attention is perhaps on one of the most important duties of government, that is keeping the nation safe. The attempted mass abduction at the federal government girls' college in Mogano has once again underscored the persistent security threats facing communities in Nigeria's northeast and the evolving tactics of terrorist groups targeting vulnerable civilian populations. In a swift overnight operation, troops of Operation Hayden Kai, supported by the Nigerian Police Mobile Force, repelled the attackers, rescued all 46 students, and prevented what could have become another major school abduction. While the military says no student was taken captive, it also confirmed that some students lost their lives after being struck by terrorist gunfire during the exchange. Let me allow you to listen to the account and some of what was the outcome of that, what would have become a tragic incident.
What was happening is the attack from Boko Haram. We were all sleeping at the night. We didn't expect their come. We just hear gun sounds everywhere. They keep shouting. Some of us are hiding under bed. Some of us are hiding inside our lockers. So when they come, some of us are run. They have escaped. We have nothing to say, but we should just thank you for your rescue and help.
What you have done is beyond expectation. We thank you very much for that. We thank you very much, and you can continuously keep on this. And I believe Monguno will be safe, since I have observed and seen that your effort is very interesting. Thank you very much for what you have done.
Thank you.
That is relieving, isn't it? Because what you would have heard us saying is about the same number of what we saw in Oyo, and this could have happened again in Borno State. But don't forget that are those in some part of Borno that are still asking the government to help our parents crying that their children are still in captivity. But over the last few weeks, we've seen a lot of rescue operations, foiling of attacks by this terrorist organization. But questions are now being asked about the suspected insider collaboration that may have enabled the attack, the effectiveness of existing security measures around schools, and what this latest operation reveals about the broader counterinsurgency campaign. Joining us tonight to examine the rescue mission, the evolving security landscape, and the military's ongoing operations against terrorist groups is retired Brigadier General Sani Kukasheka Usman, the former Director of Army Public Relations. Thank you so much, General, for joining us tonight on the program.
Good evening, and thank you so much, too.
I appreciate it. It's some good news, right?
Indeed.
It's always doom and gloom as far as insecurity. In the last almost 20 years in our country, it's always been one sad story or the other, because terrorist organizations have bombarded, mostly part of the northeastern region of the country. They've gone to the north central, the northwest of the country, and we saw what they did in Oyo, and thank goodness that our military and our gallant operatives across DSS, police, they joined together to be able to rescue those Oyo victims back home. But over the next few minutes, I'm going to show our viewers to see what the operations have looked like in the last at least 1 month. The other day, I showed about 3 months, and you can see the effort in almost every part of the country. Military is on one operation or the other. But we've seen some of these efforts. First and foremost, let me take you to Brno. This Mongunu attempted a forward attack. What is your own assessment professionally on what really happened?
Yeah, well, I think first and foremost, I would like to start by commending the efforts of the gallant troops, the leadership, and of course the mobile police force that rose to the occasion. Remember, you need to, before you even talk about that, you have to look at the circumstances or the topography of that area to appreciate the effort. First and foremost, it was somewhere around 1 o'clock in the night or 1:30 or thereabout. I remember Monguno has the highest concentration of IDP, and of course the surrounding, and it was a market day. And the issue of collaborators has always been the major problem. But for the troops to have proactively dealt decisively with this situation, I think is something that is very, very commendable. And I'm not even surprised, because just recently, the military has recalibrated the leadership. Take, for instance, if you look at the theater command, you know, there were change in terms of the leadership of the various, or particularly the 3 sectors. Sector 1, which has headquarters in Maiduguri, and Sector 2, which has headquarters in Damaturu, and of course Sector 3, which did this marvelous job that has a headquarters in Monguno. And beyond that, there were other rescue efforts, you know, across, you know what happened in Ibadan, 2-division area of responsibility. And of course, most importantly, we will not forget, despite the unfortunate circumstances, the troop rose to the occasion in Pansanyama to the extent of rescuing the wife of our fallen brother, General Ravi Abubakar. You know, it's kudos to them for them to have rescued her alive and all the rest. But this one to up the game, to proactively preempted the terrorists, and, you know, not only rescue the people, they were able to deal decisively with them. But unfortunately, many of them have escaped with gunshot wounds, and of course there were reported collateral damages, ostensibly by the, created by the gunfire of the Boko Haram terrorists. But I can rest assure you, this is something that is heartwarming, and we crave for more of it. But it is not even surprising because of the renewed vigor and the fact that over the time you look at the synergy of effort and collaboration to the extent of neutralizing Al-Menuki, and you look at his position vis-a-vis in ISWAP and in fact ISIS. So totally, the ISWAP is in total disarray, just the same thing with JAS. And of course, the military and security forces are taking advantage of it. But it is not yet Uhuru, because we still have some unscrupulous elements that, for whatever reason, they decide, to collaborate with the non-state actors that are doing this, damage to the society. Then, in fact, it was just over the weekend that I came back from Borno. I had been there for 2 weeks, so I know, I have a fingertips of what is going on in the theater as it is.
I mean, with your experience, you've got a lot of intelligence, a lot of information. And on this program, one day, emotionally, I started by saying all Nigerians need to unite against terror, which has become something that a lot of... Because, look, we first need to have a nation. Either you are PDP, you are APC, you are NDC. And in my own language, they say the heavens are falling. It's not going to fall on one person. Everybody is going to be impacted. The impact is going to be on everyone. And it's important for all of us, when you hear something, you say something. In the media, we try to applaud the military to be able, every day they are risking their lives. You know, they have families like we do, but they are on the front line fighting to defend our nation. And that's why I take it as an opportunity and a huge honor and a privilege to say to them, kudos, and keep fighting and keep defending our land from this terrorist organization. And I saw the kind of coordination, because over the last few years, we have reported in past governments and all of that, how disorganized the security network, lack of intelligence, disorganization, them not talking together, not harmonized. But we see some level of coordination that's happened, and we saw some elitists in terms of the operations and the rescue. Well, let me show you something, General, and you probably will appreciate it because you are an expert in the field. We are able to put together right here on this program operations and rescue of the last month. I mean, which has happened in the last month. And if you are looking at your screen right now, you will see state by state from July the 1st, you will see state by state is in Kajuru. There's an anti-banditry operation, victims rescued, weapons, mobile phones belonging to fleeing kidnappers. Operation Fatanyama told us this. July 3rd to 7th, we saw Benue, Kogi, Taraba, multiple operations. Absolutely.
Yeah, coincidentally, the commander's birthday was yesterday. So I said, Gara, you have given them a birthday gift in Benue.
Fantastic. So, you see, 5+ people are rescued. There are targets of abducting in all of these operations: anti-terrorism operation, banditry operation, counter-kidnapping operation. In every of these operations, there are targets on vulnerable population. And you can see we listed them right here for our viewers to understand what has happened over there. This is just 1 month. And we have a report of 3 months that we put together right here on Channel
Barely 2 weeks plus.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you can see just the sheer in Katsina, Kaduna, Niger, Oyo, Borno, Benue, Kogi. The military is on different operations. We are terribly being stretched. But let me ask you, and I'm worried, General, ISWAP appears to be changing its tactics from attacking military formations to targeting schools, civilians, and strategic infrastructure. Is the group becoming more sophisticated, or is this a sign that military pressure is forcing it to adopt asymmetric methods?
Undoubtedly, yes. Undoubtedly, yes. You know, they are very dynamic in the sense that they kept on evolving, you know, in terms of tactics and procedures and all the rest. And thankfully, the military and security forces are also meeting up to that, in the sense that there were even reports that they are taking advantage of the artificial intelligence to do that. And I can tell you that the military is also upping its game in the sense that they are matching them, not just question of matching them. They understand basically the basic tactics of Boko Haram. Wherever they are, anytime, if you don't go to them, they come to you. So instead of them waiting for them to come, now you go to them.
Your counter-terrorism strategy must be on point.
Exactly.
You must preempt.
Proactively.
You must be proactive.
Actively.
What do you think has changed, General? Is it technology or strategy?
A combination of so many factors. The zeal and the determination, recalibration of the leadership, and of course the renewed cooperation, and the understanding that, look, security is everybody's business. And there is a limit to which the military or the security forces can achieve anything without the collaboration of the Nigerian society. So, and that is why the issue, I just have to commend you for all the efforts you have been doing, appreciating all these things, and mobilizing the Nigerian society. Because the military or the security forces are not magicians. There is a limit to which technology can be utilized. You still have to rely on the human factor. And that is where the military come into play. And the same thing, at the same time, the society come into play. And if you look at even the statement from the, Munguno, they were saying that the attack that was thwarted, the abduction that was thwarted, was due to the efforts of collaborators. Whether they are inside or outside, they use the word collaborators. And it has always been the bend. People, to some extent, to them, it's a business, because to them, so long as they can get money, they don't care what is the impact of that means of getting money. So basically, unless that issue is dealt with. But most importantly, there is a renewed synergy of effort among the security agencies. And of course, the troops themselves, they understand that, look, there is no way these guys can match them. I have seen that zeal and I've seen that determination.
Are you also happy? When you were in service, little did we hear about the military staying side by side with a police officer in an operation. I mean, we know it happens sometimes, but we've seen more of it happen. We saw it in Orire. We saw a combination: police officer, mobile police officers, Air Force. All of them, you see them. They look like they were from the same formation. We saw little of that in the past years, but recently we see that happening. Something dramatic must have happened.
Well, definitely to you, it is like that.
It's obvious to us now.
But let me tell you, the teaching is that.
Yeah.
The teaching is that there is synergy of effort. In fact, that is where all internal security operations are predicated, based on, police action, whereby the police is overwhelmed. There is a procedure where the military will take over. But that does not mean that they will take over absolutely. There is always an understanding. And check out all the training institutions, be it, except for the basic training, maybe at depot, the various 3 depots, and the Nigerian Defense Academy. But beyond that, professional training, you will see that there is always interagency collaboration and training. Pick the Army War College, or the Naval War College, or the Air Force War College, or even the Armed Forces Command and Staff College. As a matter of fact, every course, the senior course, there is an exercise, they call it HASKView. It's more or less like simulation of internal security operations. Beyond the police, all other components of the security sectors are involved in that exercise. And when you go to the war colleges and the national defense colleges, the National Defense College, you always find the police or the other security agencies in that training. The same thing with National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies. So what really is the problem is the issue of translating that normative aspect into reality. And of course, everybody has come to realization that you need to. And basically, internal security is within the purview of the Nigerian Police Force.
Absolutely.
So automatically, people have realized the need for that. And beyond that, again, it has worked. So you keep on adjusting what works for you. You realize that synergy of effort, collaboration, and coordination, and most importantly, issue of coordination. And I have seen that beyond all that. Just recently, we have had a roundtable in respect of the issue of state police. And you can see the component and the convergence of the various segments of Nigerian society in that aspect, realizing the importance of the Nigerian police force in dealing with security challenges in this country and other security sectors. So it's not a surprising thing, actually.
But I mean, it's quite heartwarming. We have not gotten there. People are abducted. People are still in the terrorist camp. They are being held by terrorists. A lot of attacks are still happening in the country. But what gladdens one's heart is the fact that we're seeing a lot of rescue operations, foiling of some of these attacks. And this is not the trend that we've always seen. But what I'm hearing, the intelligence we have, is that there are some procurement that has happened recently. We've gotten some more weaponry that has been made available. Whether that is enough or not, that is yet to be seen. Technologies we understand are coming to be able to surveillance technology we understand are in the works that are going to help. But what gives me worry is what the military said. They said that suspected collaborators are helping to facilitate these attacks, especially the one we saw in Mogunum. And increasingly we hear about local informants aiding insurgents. Has the battle shifted, General, beyond the battlefield to one of infiltration and community compromise?
Well, what I want you to understand, Sean, is the fact that the concept of war economy is real. It's an economic system that revolves around any given complex situation. People are benefiting from it. So the issue of morality does not even come into play. Take, for instance, pick either banditry. To a large extent, banditry, the center of gravity is two things. Or rather, there are two things. The information and, of course, the weapon they have. And to a large extent, familiar with the ground more than, everyone else. Because most of the kidnappings in those areas, they are local issues. The people that, the perpetrators of that crime, they hardly come from outside. Except, of course, when you think of the Kaduna train attack and kidnapping. But most of them, they are within, so they are familiar with the terrain. But coming back to the issue, now people benefit from supplying logistics, weapons.
Are they intentional collaborators or?
In most instances, it is intentional. And you have to go back to the simple fact issue of governance. Now, we have 3 tiers of government: federal, state, and the local government. You know what is happening to the local government. And the thing is that people who, under normal circumstances, would have prepared to be hardworking, honest, and dedicated, will be enticed by still little stipends because they have no better alternatives. That is one aspect. But there are those that have criminal tendencies, because all the leadership of the banditry and the kingpins of the terrorists, if you look at their history, they had exhibited some form of violent extremism right from the beginning. Or they have this tendency of criminality over time. And the system was unable to check them to when they grow to what they come. And of course, proliferation of weapons and the fact that they are being aided by this war economy. Take, for instance, a bottle of Coca-Cola that sells for as much, I think the 3CL is about 300 naira or thereabout. But you go to the bandit camp, it sells for as much as 3,000 naira. So you can imagine, the person is making his own money. To him, he doesn't care what it contributes. But just like you had the blood diamonds in Sierra Leone and all the rest of it. So it is the same thing here.
The economy around is fueling.
Exactly.
I was going to ask it, why has the war lasted this long? Why have we not been able to?
It is because of the collaborative effort of those collaborators. To them, it's a business as usual. And a simple arithmetic will tell you. Take, for instance, a kidnapper that collects ransom of 50 million, 30 million, or 20 million, or even 5 million, as the case may be. Do you think that he will be carrying it on his bag across the bush? Somebody is investing it for him. Who is that person? So these are the issues. So it is beyond just...
But General, do we need some kind of help? I mean, during the Jonathan era, we used mercenary. The American recently came to support. Does this war look like we cannot do it alone? We need some larger representation of support.
I think you may argue yes and no against that. But believe me, I'm all the opinion that our problems are local and the solution is within. All it requires is determination and galvanization of the whole society, beyond the whole government, the whole society, in the fight against all this criminality.
But do you think state police concept could help us to stem the tide?
State police, well, whether you like it or not, is an idea that has come with its time. But the whole idea is, it's just like when we were talking, and one of the noted authority in policing across globally, and he was asking that question. It is no question of security architecture or legislation. We have more than enough rules or laws against corruption. Yes, corruption strives. So the policing, the state police will thrive in an atmosphere where there is also good governance. Because there is limit to which you can use coercive agents to deal with social injustice.
Yeah.
Like I kept on saying, there's still security challenges. If you like, you should bring 1 million policemen. If the people do not decide to live in peace among themselves, they cannot solve the problem. The same thing with the military. So you have to intensify on those time-tested conflict resolution mechanisms. the issue of good governance, then the police, the state police, will effectively deal with those local issues. Yes, the fears about funding, collaboration or, relationship and all the rest of them are being addressed. And I hope it is realistic.
So, sophistication of operation is also using technology and advanced technology to be able to fight, preempt, and be able to... Because there are those who will tell you that, look, it is not the absence of criminality that shows how secure the nation is. It's the ability to be able to preempt it and prevent it. And you will see in some crimes, they will tell you, CCTV camera is here. There are those who will say, let us hide so that they will not see that it's CCTV. But it's telling the criminal minded that if you steal, we are watching you. And in that sense, our borders, for example, can we mount a physical border around? There are those who will say, use technology. How much of the sophistication of technology do we need, and how fast do we need to employ them?
Well, beyond the use of technology, definitely technology is a force multiplier in the sense that a work that could be done by 100 people, with click of a button, you can be able to do that, and you can be able to see beyond what the human eye can see or can travel. I mean, physically you can cover. Now, beyond that, again, when you talked about foreign help and all the rest, and I think there is need for constructive engagement with our neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
Because even if you put the technology and all the rest of them, you don't even know what is happening in the other side. So you need their support, you need their cooperation, you need their collaboration to deal with the security challenges.
Mm-hmm.
And we have seen it. At the beginning of Boko Haram, people thought that it was a Nigeria's problem. But eventually it was transborder. Look at what happened in other countries, and eventually they have to collaborate, hence the rejigging of the multinational joint task force under the Lake Chad Basin Commission. So these are the issues. Technology comes into play, but at the same time, we should also look at that aspect of the human, aspect, in the sense that we need the collaboration, we need the support, so that we can stem the tides of proliferation of these small and medium arms that make the difference. Then again, technology helps in the sense that even if a criminal had a tendency of committing crime, the system will eventually catch up with him. And somehow, people will have a second thought, because you know that you can hide, but there is limit to which you can even hide, because you cannot go far. We have had instances where people, because of the level of commitment and security education, they hand over or they, point out where criminals are hiding.
Yeah.
And this is what we want. But beyond that, again, you have to also make sure that the responders are adequately equipped, kitted, so that they can respond effectively.
General, on a final note, sir, on a final note, and I need you to help us on this. Elections are here, and you know what happens. Elections are sometimes a magnet to insecurity, and you see the rise of insecurity for so many other reasons that experts will give. If you have your way, how do you think is best, or what would you do if you have your way in ensuring that this insecurity around the election period is totally curtailed?
I think it's a work in progress, and they are doing the best they can. And I think in a couple of days, I know that the defense headquarters and others are also having seminars, around security during the election period and the role of the military and other security agencies. So, but beyond that, everybody is aware of the fact that you cannot even have an election in an atmosphere of insecurity.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, you must have a skilled society before you think of election.
Yeah.
So basically, I know that effort is ongoing in terms of plans, collaboration to ensure that a conducive atmosphere is created for the 2027 general election and beyond.
Mm-hmm. Brigadier General S.K. Usman, retired, thank you so much indeed for your time tonight. I appreciate all of the efforts you have given tonight in ensuring that insight is given to what is happening and the hopes that we have that in no time, all of these will be a thing of the past. Many thanks for the service to our nation.
Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure having you on the program. Well, tonight I use the opportunity to also tell Nigerians that it's a time for us to unite against these terrorists. We cannot allow them win. They cannot win. Our nation and our people will defeat these guys. And that's why I say I don't care whether it is APC, PDP, NDC, whichever political party. Who cares anyways? Because the lives of every Nigerian is important. And don't forget that those Nigerians who are fighting day and night to secure you and I. So why are you allowing politics to divide us and allowing this terror or terrorists to be able to win the war? They cannot win. We can win as a people. Let's unite against terror. Up next on the program, there is a new NBA president, and that victory is generating a lot of controversy. We'll be speaking with a second in history woman NBA president-elect Ms. Badejo Okunsanya, SAN, will be joining me next on the program. That's going to be after this break. Let us again. The Nigerian Bar Association has entered a new chapter with the election of Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Onyekonsola Badejo Okunsanya, as its president-elect, making history as only the second woman to lead the association in more than 9 decades and the first in 34 years. Our victory, however, has been overshadowed by fierce objections from difficult candidates who allege widespread technical failures, voter disenfranchisement, and serious flaws in the electronic voting process, raising questions about the credibility of the election and the standards of internal democracy within one of Nigeria's most influential professional bodies. As the NBA prepares for a new leadership era, the challenge now is not only governing the bar, but also restoring confidence in its electoral processes and preserving its moral authority as a leading voice on the rule of law, constitutionalism, and democratic accountability. Of course, it was just an election that held in 24 hours. A lot of people were saying, is INEC watching how this election is going on? If this number of people are doing election in an electronic format, although there are a lot of controversies around it, but this is the moment where the election was called and announced.
And Mrs. B polled 12,317 votes, representing 47.18%. With that result, she stands elected as the president of Nigeria.
That's the moment when the chairman of the electoral committee announced the result, because the percentage of our victory, the total number of our votes, the voting duration was 24 hours. The voting measure was electronic voting. She will be taking over from Alpha Moshigwe and SAN for a 2-year term from 2026 to 2028. But the president of the bar, Mr. Alpha Moshigwe, also spoke after the election result was announced.
The members of the ECNBA stood firm. Every effort to derail this process failed. But I will say to the men and women who today have been elected to take over from us, and by the way, we can't wait to hand over to them, that as we celebrate, know that this is a trying time for the bar. Many persons may yet go to grave extents to rubbish the association and the electoral process. It is a time for healing, and it is a time to reach out to those who lost, to those who are hurting, and not only those who contested, but those who supported them.
After Mrs. Priscilla Akwe is now Oye Consular Badejo Okusanya, who's made history in the history of one of the oldest and the strongest professional association in Nigeria, the Nigerian Bar Association. I'm being joined by the president-elect of the Nigerian Bar Association, Mrs. Oye Consular Badejo Okusanya, SAN. Congratulations, Madam President.
Thank you very much, Yo.
How does it feel?
Good.
It was a hard-fought one, isn't it?
It was. And an instruction in politics, in life, but a humbling experience, because when you put yourself out there trying to convince colleagues that you have what it takes to lead them, and then somehow or the other you are able to achieve that, and over 12,000 people put their trust in you, cast their votes for you, that's humbling. And I'm not unmindful of the huge responsibility that lies ahead, and the fact that I have to justify the trust that has been reposed in me by them and others.
You also question some history, right? You, as a second, and those who say Mrs. Priscilla Akwe, yes, the first, but not through an election, but you a proper election now, they brought you into office. What does this mean for women within the Nigerian bar? As women as a professional in this country? And I dare say, the other day I make this example, at the Afebabala University, at the Faculty of Law, there were 19 first-class graduates in that class. And guess what? All of them are women.
Wow.
Yeah. And I've met some of I would say a few times I've led my class academically. It's women that will give you a run for the money. But when it gets to practical, getting to the field, you don't find women. They are relegated to the background. What do you think this victory means for the women in Nigeria?
Okay, so first of all, let me correct a misconception. While though factually accurate, the nuance might sort of suggest something different. Dame Priscilla Akwe she ran an election for first vice president of the association, and she ran against two very strong candidates at the time, Komi Ishola Oshobu and the late Mr. Segun Onokoya, and she won as first vice president. Then the attorney general, the president of the bar at the time, went to become attorney general. That was the late Sir Clement Akpambo, and then she stepped into the shoes for a few months until the tenure was over. So she did run an election. She did win an election, just not as the president. Yes. And she did then try to run, and probably would have won, except that there was a fiasco, interestingly enough, in Port Harcourt 35 years ago. And so she didn't become the president, and the bar went into comatose.
So that's why I said,
yes,
for a woman who ran an election as an NBA president, you are the first.
Yes,
yeah.
Yes. First to be
elected. The second to be named as NBA president.
Female
president. NBA
absolutely, yes. And so what does this mean for women? You know, everywhere I go, Sheung, I find women, young women, older women, who say to me that this aspiration, this bold aspiration has inspired them. Someone told me in Yola that because I'm running, she feels as if she can do anything. That's the kind of feeling that permeates across the female gender, because females in professional settings are kind of like a triangle, right? At the bottom, you find loads and loads of women. As you rise higher, whether it is by cultural nuances or social responsibilities or what have you, the demands of the job being balanced with family life can often be extremely demanding. So for those type of people who are ordinarily high achievers, you just said 19 first-class graduates, all female. You may find out that barely a fraction of them end up at the very top. Not because they're not capable, but because the environment
so
doesn't
toxic
quite feel
for women.
Toxic and difficult to navigate. Even when it's not toxic, it's difficult to navigate, particularly when you're fulfilling social obligations.
There are a lot that you need to contend with after the election when your tenure officially starts. Part of the immediate thing that you need to contend with is the fact that there are a lot of talks about who you are, that you are the sister to the Minister of Trade. They're feeling that you are the government candidate. Egbe Amofin did not support you. Alpha Mosugwe wanted to impose you. The election was rigged, disenfranchisement. There's so many allegations that come to the inference that you were rigged into office. How does it come to you?
Well, first of all, it's not very pleasant to imagine that people think that unless an election is rigged in my favor, I can't win an election, so that's not very pleasant. But on a serious note, you know, unfortunately, we've had a trust deficit in the association with regards to our election, whether right or wrong. Perception is reality. So there's a perception that the elections are rigged. And to that extent, that trust deficit needs to be dealt with. Now, as for this election cycle, I'm grateful for the scrutiny that it came under. Because right-thinking individuals will understand that this election cycle could not have come under this much scrutiny and yet be compromised. So I can beat my chest. And I have said that if need be, I'll subject myself to a post-election audit, because I also have no desire for my win to be delegitimized in any way. I think what we need to do as a bar is come together and have an honest conversation about how we want to conduct our elections in a way that engenders the most confidence for the most people. Something that we actually talk about and devise a means by which our electoral process will be respected.
Let me take a break. This is not the conversation about how you want to lead the bar tonight.
Yeah,
and I promise you that it's going to be few words. I know you said you're tired, you've lost your voice. I'm going to respect that.
Thank you.
I will leave that to the next time, what democracy, what the bar will represent. But you've got to have a word for the likes of Mr. Akimboro SAN, Are Akimboro, and of course Mr. Yemi Akongbe on what these raids mean. They say it's a sham, it's a disgrace to the bar, but you've got to have a word for them, isn't it? But that's going to be after this break. We're going to break. We'll be right back, everyone.